should be sober, cause your rejection is so obvious. And I feel stupid and I cry and I cry and I cry and I cry. But then I tell myself that it will be okay. But it's not true. I still want you. But why should I stand still? I'm moving out of your heart. And I feel stupid and I cry and I cry and I cry and I cry. But then I tell myself that it will be okay. But it's not true. I still want you.
Lately, I've been thinking about all the things that we've been through. Lately, I regret all the fucked up things that I put you through. Still trying to learn to be personal. Still uncomfortable being me. Still trying to learn to be vulnerable. Stepping out the zone, being me. It ain't your fault who I am. It ain't your fault who I am. Oh, it ain't your fault who I am. It ain't your fault who I am.
I should be sober, cause your rejection is so obvious. And I feel stupid and I cry and I cry and I cry and I cry and I cry. But then I tell myself that it will be okay. But it's not true. I still want you.
It ain't your fault who I am. It ain't your fault who I am. Oh, it ain't your fault who I
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Breakfast of Champions. I've got IG Live plugged in. I've got YouTube, Facebook plugged in, as well as Twitter. So wherever you're checking in at or wherever you're tuning in from, please comment in the chat box wherever you are. Let me know that you're there. Let me know where you're checking in from. You know, today is going to be a fire episode. As mentioned inside the notes in the events, wherever you caught this, is it's going to be geared around the statements and different questions that are actually killing our sales. And so in this live stream, I'm going to show you an alternative way to say the same exact message. So I got some real fire coming for you. And I know I'm a little bit early. It's because I got a special announcement. And that announcement has to do with the script. I've actually remastered it so that it's compatible for purchase agents now as well. So if you're a purchase agent and you're doing inbounds or even outbounds, I've added in content. So if you downloaded it already, don't even worry about it. Just simply go back to the website salesremastered.com and download a new copy. Make sure you use your personal email address so that you get a copy of it. And I've included much more content in there to help you further your game. And so I've also got another announcement, and it has to do with the Closing Secrets 101. The Closing Secrets 101 is primarily for refinance agents. So if you're in the heat of refinancing right now and you're trying to step up your game and learn different ways to make your sales process a little bit more efficient, I got a coupon code for you to use at the checkout, and the coupon code is SR300. And what that does is it wipes out about $300 off of the retail cost. And so you actually getting it as cheap as $197. Just the simple fact that it's $197 is mind-blowing, because this is going to teach you in detail on how to multiply your results and multiply your income. So not only are you getting that money back, but you're getting the help that you need to really take your game to the next level. And so I want to talk about real quick before we begin at 8:30 about the content within Closing Secrets 101, because that's one of the common questions is, oh, what's it about? You know, what's inside? And so as you guys see on the screen, the one of the main things that it gears around is, of course, inbound and outbound origination. But what also is included is framing the actual pitch. Like, how do you transition to the pitch? And we'll be covering some of that content in this live stream today. But besides framing the pitch, how do you actually drive the pitch? How do you control the pitch in a way where you enforce the sale and you actually influence urgency and get that commitment? But besides that, I also show you how to actually close the pitch, because framing, right, like selling and closing are two different things. And I teach you the science of actually closing that call. On top of that, I break it down and show you why it works. So I'm giving you the actual pitch formula and the sequence of how you should deliver your sales pitches. But besides that, I've also included a module called the follow-up module, which tells you how to follow up more efficiently. So you're not spending a lot of your time just leaving messages that are just going to go unanswered. But besides that, whenever you come across resistance at closing, that one piece of resistance that's stopping you from making that sale or getting that commitment, I got a module just completely dedicated on that. And then finally, any and every sales objection that you get right now that's stopping you from making that sale, I cover it in the last module, sales objections and rebuttals, by giving you the perfect rebuttal so that you can melt that rejection or melt that resistance and move right in for the close. So again, the promo right now, the SR300 code is live. Right when you check out, just enter it in the coupon code, and it's going to knock off $300 off that sales price. So it's for $197. Ask yourself, how much do you get per sale? For one funded loan, how much are you making? I'm sure it's way more than $197. And this is giving you the science of how it works. And so now you'll have lifetime access to this training module. It'll be available wherever you have internet. It's iPhone compatible, cell phone compatible. So you'll be able to pull it up on your phone if you need to get into that certain mind state. And yeah, do yourself a favor. Go to salesremastered.com today. Check out the Closing Secrets 101. Give yourself that advantage, especially if you're a refinance agent, because the market's a little bit different and you need to have every tool in your arsenal that you can get in order to, stay relevant and stay paid. So again, the coupon code SR300 knocks off $300, and the link is below in the notes in this video, or you go to salesremastered.com and check out the programs. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into today's live stream session. You know, and I've tried a little bit something different, so I'm like blended into the background, right? People on IG, you guys can see what's actually really going on. You see the green screen in the background. You know, when you get a chance later, you can actually catch this stream on YouTube and Facebook and actually see how it came out on that screen. But you know, I wanted to switch it up. I want to evolve, and I'm trying out different things, which is one of the reasons why when you first tuned in, you were able to hear kind of this background music. And you know, I'm just constantly evolving. I'm trying to deliver the most entertaining as well as educational content that I can, so that it's something different. You know, different than the sales training that you're getting right now. Different than most of the content that you're finding online right now, and it's being given from someone who's just like you and doing the same hustle just like you. So before I begin, got about 3 more minutes. Everyone comment, let me know where you're calling in from. IG, let me know where you're tuning in from. Facebook, what's up, Kevin? Thanks for joining from Denver, Colorado. I appreciate you. Let me make sure everything's firing okay. Hopefully there's no latency. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the show. Starting off again with the topic of this live stream, it's questions and statements that can help you sell more. We're going to start off here, and then we're actually going to go over the certain phrases and statements that may actually be killing your sales. So if you pick up on some of these things and you'll be like, yo, that's actually my default statement, that's what I say commonly, you're going to learn in this live stream that that's probably the reason why you're actually losing that sale. So the goal is to help you step up your game and help you get to that next level. So going on to the very first statement that I think we can incorporate in our very first call with our prospect, whether purchase or refinance. I think it's important to set the tone and make sure that they're aware that you are the person, you are the actual authority. And there's reason why inside this sales script that I share, I put this exact statement, and it's that I am authorized to provide you with the information you need. And so I'm already hinting that I'm authorized, so it puts me in a place of authority, and I'm going to provide the information that they need. And so I'm changing their view already just within this one statement of them just wanting to know the price, them just wanting to know the rate, them just wanting to know the cost, them just wanting to know the process, right? And actually just kind of compacting it to just that statement of information, the information you need. And so if you can incorporate that, I think you'll have a little bit of greater control in driving that conversation. Another statement that actually helps convert is, before I begin, let me just make sure. If you guys, for those of you who've already downloaded a copy of the sales script, you'll notice that these 2 sentences or these 2 statements are one of the immediate statements within that script. And why it's powerful is because I would say probably the biggest fear of consumers nowadays is that they don't want to get booked, they don't want to get sold, but more importantly, they're protective of their time. And so when we go into a sales conversation, the reason why they hit you with that objection right off the bat, like, hey, before I go any further, is because they don't want to give you any information if they don't have to. And so this statement kind of teases to that. So if you're not using statements like this right from the very beginning, right when you initiate the call, consider doing it, because it's going to allow you to keep control to drive that conversation. Another statement is, we'll cover those details if necessary. I think that most salesmen actually want to give too much information. There's too much info overload. Right off the bat, they go into details that may not necessarily be relevant. And not only does that burn your time, but also burns their time. And so if you're talking about something that does not apply to them, then they're not necessarily, they're going to start tuning you out. And the last thing you want to do is for them to tune you out, because you need that attention in order to sell them. So think about different ways that you can use that phrase to build curiosity. right? So you might talk about a certain maybe feature of the program, like, you know what, I may be able to create some savings, but you know what, we'll go over those details if necessary. And so you're kind of planting that seed, and then you're taking it away. You're almost being hard to get. Psychologically, this positions you a little bit more favorably because now they want to know, right? People always love kind of like that how can I put it? It's like that TBD. It's that to be determined. You know, it's the whole reason why TV shows are very captivating right before they go to a commercial. You know, they capture your interest and then they go to that commercial, right? So besides that, another important statement, very useful statement to use, or actually technically question, is you want to find out, would your savings be used to pay off your mortgage faster or used to pay off other debts? Now, this, of course, is primarily a more of a refinance question. But reason why this question is very effective is because you're going to get an idea of where their mindset is. And if they say that, you know what, I'm going to use it to pay it off faster, then you can change the dialogue of your conversation to be more about paying off the house sooner as opposed to paying off debt, because that answer is going to give you quick insight of where they are financially. Whereas on the opposite side, if they said, I'm going to use that savings to pay off other debt, then I can start planting seeds about debt consolidation and be a little bit more effective and more time efficient with my conversation. Now, besides that, you also want to incorporate this question. Are we looking to shorten your term, like the life of your loan, or maximize your monthly savings? It's basically the same exact question. You're just phrasing it in a different way. And again, it's going to give you insight of exactly how to sell that particular prospect. You see, a lot of us opt to use the question of, how can I help you? Right? Or what are you looking to do today? Or what's your goal today? And I think too often times that actually sets us up for more objections. And then it becomes kind of like this ping pong because you're just answering questions. Now, answering questions is great. You should definitely do that. But at the same time, you need to be able to drive and control that conversation in your favor so you can steer them closer towards the pitch of your call, and then you can guide them through to the closing of that sale. Another question is, what is your net income? For those of you who've been following the channel, you already kind of have an understanding of what this net income is. I came up with this technique to actually get closer to an important question, which is asking how much they have in their checking and savings account, because it's important for you to identify what their cash flow is, because what we do is primarily adjust their cash flow, right? Whether you're a purchase agent or a refinance agent. I think that's something that's important to really identify, because what this question allowed me to do was educate them, but also create funnel questions that allowed me to get down to the bare bones of that conversation, or at least that get that leverage that I need to control more of the conversation. So let me give you an example of how it sounds in the work. So, hey Jim, you know, in our industry, we have what's called a net income. A net income is basically you take your gross, and then of course you have your net, which is after your taxes, your retirement contribution. But you have what's called a net also. And net is basically you take your net income and then you wipe out all your debts, your mortgage, your groceries, your insurance, your daycare, every single bit of thing. Let's use January, for example. How much of your January's net income are you netting into February? And the trick is that they're always going to say something more, right, than it really is. And so sometimes you'll get answers like $3,000. Like, bro, I know you're not netting $3,000, but sometimes they are. But you want to kind of dig in a little bit deeper. And so if they say, oh, Daniel, I'm netting, my net is 500, and say, okay, great. And of that 500, where do you currently put it? And then they'll tell you, it's like, oh, I spend it on my kids, or we usually eat out on the weekends. And so again, that should have been in the net, but you're breaking it down. And so say, okay, so after all those are paid, how much of that is actually going into checking and savings for a rainy day? And so this is an important question, because this is going to let you know how bad they need your service, but it was just a different way of getting there, right? And so if they say, oh, you know what, Daniel, barely anything. I barely have anything in checking and savings. That gives you a powerful position to then educate them, but also build curiosity. And you now position yourself as having the ultimate leverage of giving them a solution to that negative cash flow, or that kind of just that break even, you know, that what goes in comes out, goes right back out. So consider putting that question inside your sales conversation, because I think that's, again, going to allow you to control and make that easier sale for you. But you also want to find out who manages the bills each month. And why this is important is because the person who manages the bills is the person who sends out the money. And that person is directly involved with how much comes in and how much goes out and then how much is left. So they feel that emotional state every month, every single month, right? At the end of the month or in the middle of the month, they understand the numbers. They are the CFO of the family. And it's important to understand who that is because you just need to make sure that they're present at the time that you're making the pitch. I believe, me personally, that you should always involve both parties at the time of pitching the deal. I think the challenge is, though, is that how do you ask that awkward question, right? Because there's certain questions that can make your sales pitch feel like they're going to be pitched. And the idea is to make them feel like they're not going to be pitched, because if they feel like they're going to be pitched, then they're going to have these walls up and it's going to, they're going to remain guarded. And you need to break down that guard. You need to have them in a position where they're open to your message and they're not filtering it with a kind of a biased filter that most people who are being pitched filter that information with, like, oh, that's probably not true. I'm sure it's probably going to cost something. You want to get them out of that mind state and actually open ears. And I'm going to show you how to do that in this live stream. Now, there are a couple phrases that you could definitely say during your conversation that will allow you to build excitement. And I've provided 3 of them here. Like, this will help you, right? Like, just hearing that, they understand, because when they call you or when you call them, all they're interested in is what's in it for them, right? And anyone who doesn't want help or understand information that helps them, the whole reason why a lot of you are even tuned in right now is because you want information to help you. So people are naturally kind of wired to want that type of information, and you're actually you're anchoring it again. So this will help you. This will protect you, right? So now you're giving yourself, you're positioning yourself as an authority, more as a consultant, but most importantly, you have the information that will keep them safe. And that's how they're viewing you. And then finally, this will be your stepping stone. I think that, when we go into a sale, we have to think about 2 or 3 transactions ahead too. We have to build the excitement of actually putting things in their favor. We have to build the perception of them seeing that they're going to turn their basically their life around. And I think that anyone, whether they want to admit it or not, they want to go in the right direction. And so when these people typically call you is because they want a lower rate, right? Or they want a no-cost loan. Well, the reason why they want that is because there's something, and when we identify what that something is, we can build our business up for repetitive business and actually drop the seeds that we're going to help them again. And this is how top producers are doing over 10, 15 loans a month, is because they're working with their own past redo business, their past book of clients. Another one is, let me show you something. That builds major curiosity, right? Like you can usually come back from an objection with that exact statement. Like, oh yeah, watch, let me show you. Watch this. When you're having them give you their attention. And I think that statement is very strong and very effective with keeping them engaged with you. And you just need to know exactly where to drop these phrases. Whereas I think sometimes most agents will actually sit and what I call ping pong, like they're just taking questions or answering questions, and then there's no actual real kind of merge or kind of pivot to drive the conversation towards the end. And it's not your fault if you're doing that. It's probably because you just believe that that's the way it's supposed to be. But I think that we should definitely not only value our time, because we don't get paid, we probably get paid base, but we're not there for the hourly, right? I'm there for that $11 an hour, boo-boo. No, we're there to make results. And so if we sit there and play ping pong for 3 or 4 hours, you may believe that it's all about building rapport. It's all about building rapport. Well, I could tell you that the way you build rapport is actually communicate with them using words that they use and words that they understand. I could build rapport in a matter of 10 minutes versus a matter of an hour and a half. Right. So I hear it from a lot of different agents as well, but yeah, if I wear them out and spend 3 hours on the phone with them, then, they're not going to want to do it again with anyone else. Well, the problem with that is once you spent 3 hours with that person, if that person don't go through, you just missed out 3 hours of opportunity with creating, more business and more, getting in front of more people. And as salesmen, we need to get in front of as many people as we can. Right. So another statement is that really helps kind of build excitement and drive the conversation is, fortunately you're taking action in time, because if you did nothing it would, and then you kind of reiterate what their pains are, and you already know what their pains are because you've asked the right questions, you've used the right statements, you've identified the leverage. And so if you figured out what their net income is, you could say, wow, fortunately you're taking action in time, because if you did nothing it would put you in a real tight position because there's no money in the bank, or your credit cards are maxed out. And these different statements say, they can only agree with you, and they'd be like, oh yeah, you're right, I'm pretty much at ends meet, I'm pretty much with no plan B, right? Like I'm at the end of the road. And you're actually complimenting them, and you're making them feel good because you're telling them, well, fortunately you're taking action now, but you're also planting the seed of they need to take action now. And so when it gets down to that pitch table, you can use these different statements like, hey, fortunately you're taking time or taking action in time, because if you didn't, it would literally eat away into the little savings that you do have. It would ruin your credit. It would drive up the balances on your credit card, right? And things like that. Another one is great timing. We just launched this new program that it's giving them, again, curiosity. So they want to learn. Everyone wants to learn about something new. Everyone wants that one new thing because it feels exclusive. And when you say we just launched this new program, what you're referring to are just basically, things that are just out for that month, right? So it doesn't necessarily need to be a new program. You're just making it sound different. And so even if it was like a first time home buyer program, or even if it was like a debt consolidation program, the idea is you don't want to say that. You don't want to say, oh, well, we could do a 30-year fix, because that triggers their memories of doing refinances in the past. And then they feel like they're again inside of a sales process. And you need to take them out of that view so they don't feel like they're part of a sales process. Does that make sense so far, guys? Comment. Let me know what you guys think. Definitely engage throughout this this live stream wherever you're at. I need to know that it's making sense. Because this is fire, right? Like I guarantee you, there's no other channel right now that's giving you information like this that's going to help you ramp up your income. So if you use these techniques and you share them with your sales team, I promise you guys are going to get different results. I'm seeing it happen all the time. So another important statement that you should make is, when you receive your escrow refund and deferred payment, you'll net about whatever amount it is to put in the bank. And I think that when our prospects hear that, and we do the quick math, right? So we figure out they're going to defer a mortgage payment of about $2,000, and they got about $2,000 inside their escrow account. They're going to net about $4,000, right? So when you receive your escrow refund and your deferred payment, you'll net about $4,000 that you could just put in the bank. Immediately they start seeing that as value, even though that happens with anyone. You just brought attention to it. And people who are in need, prospects that are in need, they've already spent it. Once you said it, they've already spent it. Weird, right? So they're like, oh yeah, that 4,000 that could go towards Susie's braces, or oh, that 4,000 can completely pay off our Christmas bill. Whatever it is, you're kind of just building a little bit more excitement, engagement to want to complete that process. So if you're not doing that, make sure you're doing that now. Another one is this will help remove some of the negative comments on your credit report and influence a higher score. So even if you were, let's say a purchase agent, right? And you're like, yo, but D, this question, how does it work for a purchase agent? Well, when you're setting up someone for a pre-qualification, you can educate them, and you can actually help them prepare by improving their FICO score while they're shopping. And so maybe you're keeping in contact with them with fun facts about how to improve their FICO. And their upside is that when it goes time to open up escrow, they'll have the strongest credit score available to demand the absolute best pricing at that time. And if they start that journey with you, they'll be a little bit more committed, invested with you. So they're going along the process of shopping, and you're educating them about how to build up their credit score and how to remove negative comments. They feel this reciprocity, because when they see the results, they want to come back to you, right? Like they'll look at any other referral or preferred lender as like, yeah, but I already got this thing going on with D. Yeah, but Daniel's already got me on this plan, and I don't want to sway from that plan. It's really helping me out. And so I think that's how you actually build equity. Now on the refinance side, of course, this is very easy. I could use that with the deferred payment and escrow refund. So if you net about $4,000 from your deferral and then also your escrow refund, that can actually remove some of these credit card debts that I see on your credit report, and thus it will help remove some of these negative comments on your credit score. You know, I got this one technique. It's called value stack, and I just dropped the explanation of value stack in one of my most recent videos, which you have, if you haven't by now, and you're not consuming the content at Sales Remastered on YouTube or on Facebook, I think you're missing out on a lot of details and little mindset hacks that will help you. It'll help you go get over these challenges that sometimes keeps you down, keeps you back. But you know, you're basically alluding to a solution that sometimes we don't give. We sometimes will present our solution in a way we're like, hey, I could save you some money. Right? Or, hey, I could save you $230 per month. And that's it. That's it. It's just that clear statement, as opposed to say, you know, hey, I could save you $230 a month. And because you're going to defer and get an escrow refund, you'll get an additional $4,000 to put in the bank. If you decided to use that money to pay off your Chase, your Kohl's, and your Barclays account, that'll actually remove another $600 per month that you said you make payments to them for. And now I've increased your total monthly savings to $830. This actually takes you away from not having negative cash flow at the end of the month. There's no deficit at the end of the month anymore. This $830 in additional cash flow is almost as if you got $1,000 per month raise. This will help you remove the negative comments off your, right? So that is more of a value stack. It's giving them the solution and then actually trickling down to more and more solutions, and how that helps improve and enhance the quality of their lifestyle, as opposed to just the dull, hey, I could help you save some money. Keep going on with that. So another one is when you have about 12 months of mortgage payments built up in savings, we'll talk about shortening your terms and remove years worth of payments. Again, it's just building up to, it's taking them to where they want to be. No one can fight that statement. No one can say, D, I don't want 12 months of living in my bank. D, I don't want to remove years of payments off my loan. So they feel, right, that you have the answer on how to do that. And that just creates more value, more impact, and more commitment, a sense of urgency that you need to create that sale. So be sure you're doing that. Another thing is are certain things that I call trigger claims. Trigger claims are very, very powerful to use and drop into your conversation, because it's going to help you look at your statements in different ways. So for example, replenish, very strong, right? Like they hear replenish in a different way. But if you're not using some of these triggered claims, be sure you're fusing them inside your conversation. You're going to notice you're going to get a little bit more attraction, and they're going to be a little bit more compliant with you. Another one is rebuild, renew, rehabilitate, rejuvenate, revive, right? Like this just screams solution. This just screams help to them. And these are very, very powerful trigger claims, because deep down inside, this is what they want. They want to relieve themselves. They want to remove certain, pains within their life. They want to reduce the stress. They want to enhance their living. They want to improve their cash flow. They want to increase the monthly income that they have. And so these are things that will trigger an emotion that allows them to want to buy from you at that time. So if you're not using some of those trigger claims, be sure that you do. And then now let's go on to questions and statements that are actually killing your sales. One of the questions that I always hear that constantly kills sales is, how can I help you today? What are your goals? And the reason why that kills your sales is because you're just asking them to give you an objection that you now have to change the course of your conversation, and you're no longer focused on helping them. You're more focused on explaining why the market is up. You don't want to spend your time on doing that. You have to help them. You don't need to debate with them. So an alternative would be, well, let me make sure I can help you first, right? So instead of asking them what their goal is, just merge the conversation and say, I'm authorized to provide you information you need. Before I begin, let me just make sure I can help you first. Bam, I just took full control of that conversation. Another dead end question is, how much do you need to be approved for? This is a common question for purchase agents. How much do you need to be approved for? Like, why are you giving them the choice? Like, they got a choice. They only get approved so much, right? So an alternative would be, well, let me help you see how much you can qualify for today. And this is basically what they want. So now you've taken control of the conversation and can move down that conversation or that application. Another one is, are you in the market to refinance? This is typically done on cold calls or follow-up calls, right? Hey, Jim, are you in the market to refinance? For the purchase agents, are you in the market to purchase a new home? Don't do that. Instead, say, hey, we have a courtesy notice. It's on its way. And this can apply to both refinance or purchase. And the reason why it says courtesy notice is because people love courtesy items. Next time you go to Sam's Club or next time you go to Costco, look at all the people in line for them courtesy samples. It's the same type of reaction that you get when you hear something courtesy is on its way. And so the notice could be anything that's applicable to them. So it's a notice of, maybe the recent developments of different programs that are now available in February 2019. We want to give you a courtesy notice that these programs that aren't released yet, but should be coming out, we want you to know about it first, right? And so this becomes that kind of that exclusive pitch. Another one is, are you looking for any cash out? I think that's probably just a dead end question because people are trained through the media. They're trained through their family and their friends to avoid cash out. They hear cash out and they think that, there's something taboo about that, but they'd be open to using their equity to pay off debt so that they can improve their cash flow and avoid bankruptcy. Does that make sense? It's the same exact thing. You just need to kind of change your phrase. So an alternative would be, besides the mortgage, are you paying on any revolving debt or installment loans? That's the same exact method of getting the same answer, right? Like instead of asking like, hey, are you looking for any cash out? Enforce it. Like find out if they need it. You're the one in charge. You're the one who has the authority to drive that conversation and help them do it. Another one is, are you looking for a lower payment? I mean, that's self-explanatory. Let me see if I can provide you some savings first. This again eludes to the curiosity and helps make them pay attention more. So instead of asking them like, hey, are you looking for a lower payment? Who isn't looking for a lower payment, right? That's question number one. But then, I think it's just a dead end question. It doesn't allow you to drive the conversation because their response would be like, yeah, I am, but the rates are up. Then what do? It's a dead end, right? You don't want to do that. So avoid that question. And then, do you have a few minutes? Stop asking that question. Like just assume it and just go in for it. So another one is like, hey, this will just take a minute. Like just plant the seed, right? Instead of asking, because if you ask them if they got time, then they're going to worry about every other thing that they got in that day. Like, can we do it later? And then that just leaves you chasing them or leaving messages that will never be heard again. Another one is, would you like me to put that together for you? Right? Like just assume it, just do it. Like just put it together. It's a solution, right? Instead, build up the curiosity and use this alternative. Watch, let me show you. And I didn't ask them if they wanted me to put it together. I'm actually pushing them closer to getting to that pitch, right? Like, watch, let me show you. Now they're curious. Now they want to see. Now they want to know, right? It's that curiosity killed the cat. It's that instinctive reaction of like, ooh, I want to know. Another one is, what rate do you have now? One of the most common questions that people ask is our sales people ask is, well, what rate do you have now? That doesn't matter. Who cares about what rate they have now? Because if you ask them what rate they have now, they're going to think about anything. They're going to think about that your pitch has to be lower than what they have now. So an alternative would be, I'll show you the payment savings that I can bring you. Right. So instead of being worried about what their current rate is, don't worry about that rate. What your focus should be is how much benefit you could deliver. Another statement is, let me put together some options for you and call you back. This is typically how we transition into our sales pitch. And I think it's a dead end way because you're framing them in a way that they're expecting to be sold to. So be sure you're not using that statement when you transition into your sales pitch. Instead, you can use, I'll get to work on your disclosures now. And if I run into any hiccups, I'll give you a call back. Very simple, right? This gives them the notion that whatever they get, they get. And also, if I run into any hiccups and I'm unable to deliver the information that they just spent 30 minutes on the phone with me working up towards, I'll give them a call back. Now they're expecting my call. But more importantly, when I open up the call, they'll be a little bit more in tune and more compliant with listening to my message, which is the sales pitch. Another way is, I have a few ideas that I'd like to run by my manager first before I disclose it. I'll let you know if he approves by sending it. Otherwise, I'll call you back with his decision. Now it creates more curiosity, right? So they're not dodging your calls. But more importantly, you'll notice that both of these are based on your time. So you're not asking them like, hey, what time are you going to be available? Because if he's at work and it's 2 p.m. his time, he said, oh, I'm going to be on break at 4. You don't want to pitch this dude while he's on break, right? So you want to be able to get some time where he's fully focused on you and your message. And so that dead end question of what time will you be available to review your options, I think that's twofold. So one is, what time will you be available? You're asking them when they'll be available, as opposed to them making time, right? And them actually being in a position to give you the time. So you should be able to answer that through that conversation, through the questions you ask. You'll identify when and where you should be able to catch that person for your sales pitch. But also to review your options. If you're already setting up the kind of that guard that they're going to go into a sales pitch with you, and you're anchoring it to options, so they just know you as an option. They could say yes or no to you. So a more effective statement would be, I'll need consent before I release your disclosures. What time are you both at home by a computer or tablet to give the consent? Very effective way to find out when both of them will be available, right? And so even if they give you some answer like, oh, I'll be home at 5, but my wife works night shift, no worries. I can plug her in. I just need verbal consent. Can I conference her at about 5:30? Will she be available to pick up the phone? Yeah, she's actually in commute at 5:30. That's perfect. Great. Now I got both of them on the call, and they perceive it as just them giving consent to get what they're going to get. You see the difference, as opposed to saying, hey, what time are you guys going to be available? I'll go through the options you have for you. Basically, hey, what time are you going to be available so I can pitch you and make you feel awkward? That's ultimately what you're saying. So just change the way you say it. And then another one is, I have a few options, right? This is typically how a sales pitch starts. I have a few options. Grab a pen and paper. Option 1, right? 5.25, 30-year fix. I think that is probably the worst way to start a pitch. So a better way, more effective way of starting your pitch call is, hey, I had an idea and I wanted your feedback first before I send it, and then go into your pitch. But don't say option 1, option 2. Actually determine the option for them, because you've already gathered enough intel and leverage to identify what's going to help them most. And because you open it up in a way that it's an idea, they'll be a little bit more inviting to listen to you with less resistance. Another one is, I'll go ahead and lock in your loan now. When can you send me your documents? For those of you who have the ability to lock in loans without a full package, you're actually giving them a sense of security that they're locked in, and they got it very easy. If that, right, with no documentation, like, oh, it's cool, I'm locked over there with D. I'll go ahead and shop and see where everyone else got, because I'm already locked in over there. And before I send in my documents, I'll do it based on my time. There's no sense of urgency because you said I'm already locked in. So an alternative way is, I have to validate your ability to proceed first. I can ask for a reservation, but it will only last about 24 hours. Then we're prone to the open market rates that have been rising. Right? It's a very clear statement, very true. But I think what works about this statement is that it's a reservation. So everyone who's ever made reservations, you know that there's a deadline. You're already planning to see that there's a deadline, and you have now reason to follow up and drop seeds of urgency, because they're going to miss their deadline. Does that make sense? They're going to miss or fail to arrive for their reservation. And so there's kind of this instinctive reaction to want to protect that reservation. And that's pretty much it. So I hope that all the content that I shared with you guys inside this 30-minute live stream, I know it was a lot, and you guys now have this available on Facebook and YouTube to come back and revisit. There's a couple key messages here, is that if you're not feeding your brain, if you're not giving yourself the advantages that you need, you can't get mad at the market. You can't get mad at your employer's leads. You can't get mad at the other dude who sits next to you just killing it. The only person that you can really technically get mad at is yourself, because you're not taking the steps needed to advance your game and improve your game. And so my goal through these live shares is to help you figure out certain ways that you can advance your game and make some more money. Because when you start seeing results, it becomes addicting. So check out my content at Sales Remastered on Facebook and YouTube. If you haven't added me on the platforms that you're already on, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, be sure to do that today, because you're always one piece of content. You're one video away from helping you get over a challenge that you may have been facing. And when you get over that challenge, the results just becomes addicting. And when you feed your brain, you're just better prepared to automate your process. So it's not a daily grind. It's more of a game. And so I've just given you a whole bunch of tools to enforce and implement into your day-to-day. But more importantly, go to salesremastered.com, take advantage of that sale on the Closing Secrets 101. Again, the coupon code is SR300. Get it for $197. But people are paying a mad amount of money for this particular program, and you have this opportunity to use that coupon code before it expires, and it's going to take it down to $197. I promise that shit pays for itself. Not only that, but it's going to give you the correct way to originate sales and close sales, so you can do it over and over and over and over again. And it's probably the greatest gift that I can give you guys today, besides all this helpful content. So I appreciate you for sharing a piece of your morning with me. Thank you very much. Don't forget to like this video, comment your takeaway, comment your view in the chat box or in the comment section of this video, and share the link with your sales team. Share the link with another loan officer that you know could use the value within this video, and they can join us again next Thursday at 8:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on YouTube and Facebook, Instagram, as well as Twitter. And I will see you guys on that next video. Thanks.